SU enabled. That's awesome.
Man, it took a lot of work, but we finally restored Neverwinter back to its original glory.
That is awesome. Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition
With
baby.
EGA graphics. 1991, 1993. I had no idea that you had been working on Neverwinter Nights all the way back in 1991, Trent. Weren't you still in school back then?
That was actually a whole bunch of other people, but I'm totally comfortable jumping in and garfing their stuff.
What race should we be?
Human, always be human.
What? But
unless
I thought
you
love halflings. I know how much you love halflings.
You are so dead, Phil.
No, actually, halflings can't be magic users. Let's go back.
Why would you not?
We're going to be an elven
male magic user.
It's interesting that it's magic user, not wizard.
Second ed, baby.
I'm curious
Second
about that
edition.
One. Fighter, magic user, thief. I feel like, you know, jack of all trades. Why not?
Lawful neutral.
Lawful neutral. Okay.
Just for fun.
All right, reroll stats. So now this is where Baldur's Gate got its inspiration from. Yes. Oh, I had a good one there.
Oh, 1828.
But I'm multi-class, so I gotta really broaden my horizon.
Hey, dude,
that would have been good. Here we go.
All I gotta say is you can't fix stupid.
This isn't bad for a jack of all trades.
But try
Thaco 19.
Starting out triple classed, you were just going to die.
They wouldn't put it in the game. I hit yes by accident. They wouldn't put it in the game if you weren't meant to do it. Let's change our character. So a lot of people are wondering, like, what have we added to Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition? Well, first of all, we've added quite a few character customization options, as you can see here. So previously, during character generation, you couldn't actually equip equipment on your character. It was pretty much just what they looked like. And here, I can't do it either because apparently I suck at this. All right, white pants with the blue trim. We're going to keep that. The body, of course, white. And then his arm will be also white. Looking good.
Wow. You've just created
size.
White dude.
Oh, I can only be small. All right. Exit. Is this icon okay? Well, I mean, in the broadest sense, no, it sucks, but save Neverwinter Night.
Oh, yes. Wow. That is so awesome.
Can I change his name? No, I can't.
Neverwinter Night.
All right.
Knight.
So, welcome to Neverwinter. You stand before the palace of Lord Nasher, who, that's right, Lord Nasher, who governs the city and often has important missions for adventurers. So, as I understand it, this game begins with some sort of plague afflicting the city of Neverwinter.
I fear you may have fast-forwarded into the future.
Oh, you overhear a passerby make a comment about dashing adventurers. I wonder who they're talking about.
Are you a dashing adventurer, Phil?
Well, they said it in plural, so they obviously weren't referring to me.
But maybe they were referring to a multitude of yous.
Perhaps.
I think there's some kind of time loop thing going down here.
Time loop?
Oh, God.
Classic.
Stepper, baby.
So what was your inspiration for the graphics in this game when you guys built the city of Neverwinter?
This was not us.
This wasn't you?
This was a time before us, my friend.
You're telling me that you didn't rip a dude straight out of Conan the Barbarian, throw on some leather coveralls...
And make him orange?
And make him start selling silver weapons. That wasn't you?
That was not me.
So you're telling me that this game... oh, whoops.
Wrong game, Phil. Phil was playing the original Neverwinter Nights.
Well, that was a fun gag. All right, guys, welcome to the Friday Beamdog stream where we talk about Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, Icewind Dale Enhanced Edition, and Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition. Siege of Dragonspear as well. God, we have a lot of games.
Yeah, but Siege of Dragonspear isn't an enhanced edition.
Well, I think it's pretty
It's never existed before.
It enhanced the story.
It is a new independent element.
So this week, we have a new patch for the Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition Head Start. So
first off, Phil, what is Head Start?
Well, I was just going to tell them. So for those of you who are ignorant and do not know about the Neverwinter Nights Head Start...
I prefer the term uneducated.
Well, we could go with that.
Uninformed.
Ignoramus.
How about uninformed?
Now we're just being mean. So Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition is coming out on every platform under the sun on desktop. So we're on Beamdog right now. We're coming to Steam. We'll eventually be on GOG and others. But right now, if you go to Beamdog, you can get into the Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition Head Start program, which is essentially an early access kind of thing where you get to join in and help guide the development of Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. So we have a public Trello board where people can pitch ideas and suggestions, and then we have a Trello board that tracks what we're actively working on right now. So a lot of the things that people have been requesting, we've moved into our Trello, and we've been working on them. So this week, we've got a fair amount of things to tell you about.
And we have the Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, which is, this is what's active, and these are the things we're planning on working on. And then we've got the Neverwinter Nights Input Board, which is where the fans are posting up kind of the things they want us to take a look at. And things move from one board to the other. Yeah. This is the process. And sometimes they create tasks on our side that cause us to recoil in horror.
Please remove the UI and make a better one.
Yes.
That's
I would
a
like
big ask.
I would like to do that.
We're going to work on it.
I would like to set the old UI on fire.
So this week's patch is patch 8156, and we've got a fair amount of cool stuff this week.
But first, Phil, I think we broke something, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. We got some regressions. This is the fun part of software development that we're going to get into. Where,
so when Phil says regressions, normally a regression is when you go back and you test for something. What Phil means is we've broken the code and stepped it back a little bit.
Maybe. What are you going to do about it?
I'm going to hit you with an incredibly dull Baldur's Gate 2 weapon.
So we'll tell you guys about what we've added, and then we'll get into the regressions after. Luckily, they're not too huge. There's workarounds for any of them, and it's more funny than anything else, but we'll get into it. So in terms of fixes for 8156, there was a divide by zero problem when modding the Restoration 2DA. So that's gone now. That's been fixed. Yet more OpenMP3 related fixes. So when we ripped out... what was it? Miles?
Miles.
Yeah. We replaced it with that open source library, and we've been tracking down all of the weird edge cases and fixing them up. Shadow edges had some visual corruption. This is also fixed. Anti-aliasing works again after a previous fix accidentally disabled it.
So we fixed
regressions.
Fixed it.
That's what Head Start's all about. You get to see the sausage getting made.
You get to see the bumbling nature of software development.
People just shove their hand into that meat grinder, and they're just like, what happened? Reading PLTs could sometimes result in garbled icons or crashing the game when the item in question is placed or loaded from a saved game.
Dude, when I think about PLTs, my brain is garbled.
I would hope so.
They are complicated.
And when you copy an area, there was a crash with duplicating inventories, also fixed. Now, new features. Should we talk about some new features we've added?
Well, for starters, how about music?
Oh, yeah.
So we had a request that...
let's just show them.
People liked the Hordes of the Underdark music, but they're like, hey, didn't you guys have like this epic Jeremy Soule soundtrack and this amazing main menu music for the original game? Why don't you turn that back on? So we added that as an I option. So you can go in and you can set the main music you want. So when the game fires up, the main menu will currently now, it's set to not play the Hordes of the Underdark music, but will now play the original Neverwinter Nights music.
I can only assume that they're hearing it right now because I don't have headphones, so it sounds good.
Dan is making faces at us and saying that it's kind of quiet.
It's quiet, loud? You want it real loud? Oh, we can make it go loud. All right.
Phil has problems.
So we've added that. So the way it works right now is if you go into your INI, when you launch 8156 for the first time, it's going to add another line for main menu music.
Main menu music theme equals muse_theme_main.
And then any BMUs will work for that are part of the game, so you can just shove those in.
So if you really want to go back to the Underdark one, you do muse_theme under XP2. Baka chicka wow wow.
I prefer the Hordes of the Underdark theme. I'm weird like that. Maybe it's just because that's the theme that I heard the most, but you know.
I can't hear any of the music anymore. I've heard it so much that I actually don't hear it anymore.
I don't know. I still enjoy it. I throw on the Icewind Dale soundtrack every now and then because I think it's that main theme for that game. I think is still one of the best RPG sound tracks
it was
of
really
all time.
Really atmospheric.
Yeah,
it was well done. So when I was modeling the weapons for Neverwinter Nights, I used to listen to the Conan soundtrack.
Oh man, I still listen to the Conan soundtrack.
Endless loop.
Let's put it on. No, let's not.
Wheel of Pain.
Man, no, for real, if you go into my car and look at the history, the Conan the Barbarian soundtrack is on there.
Yeah.
Conan the Destroyer did not have as good of a soundtrack.
No,
there
it
was
did not.
there was the one track, Conan versus Bombada or whatever his name was. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
But overall, like, it didn't have that sweeping epic feel to it.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Conan the Destroyer was not a high point in the franchise.
The less said about Jason Momoa, the better. All right, screen space ambient occlusion is back in the game. This is actually a pretty cool one. I'm going to be showing it to you later.
So screen space
ambient occlusion.
Ambient occlusion, sorry, was actually improved by one of our fans. So we had put it in the game, and there were some bugs with it, so we ganked it. And then one of our fans, who we call, who goes by Zathurasta 217, went through and twiddled it to get her working again.
So you're going to see how it looks in game, but for those of you who are curious before we move on, ambient occlusion is essentially, it adds additional like shadows to any sort of crevices or depths so that it looks a little more realistic, a little more, it basically brings out the image a lot more, as you can see with this Buddha example.
Yeah, so we had implemented it, we put it in the game, and there were some bugs with it, so we had ganked it out, but we left the code sitting there so people could look at it, and luckily for us,
There's
Zathurasta went in and twiddled with it, got it working awesome, said, hey guys, I got it working awesome, do you want to use it? And we're like, yes.
we
will totally use that.
Are we ready to tell them about the big feature? Normal map and spec map support.
They are slowly marching forward.
Oh boy.
So the normal map, spec map support is actually going to be in 51, or yeah, in 56 here. But we don't have any art content in there yet to support it.
But stay tuned, because we're going to see some stuff coming up here, and you at home can start messing with the shaders.
We actually have content, but the artists were like, "No, it's not perfect yet. You can't let other people see it." So we're like, "Okay, fine, we'll wait."
Throw it out. People will appreciate it. They'll be like, "Look, we can see the progress from this week to this week," and they're like, "No, we only show perfection."
It's like, dudes, you have 1 week to get perfection done.
Next week, it's going to be perfect.
So we've got a question up here. Any chance for new portraits? You can never get enough portraits.
Hell yeah, we can do more portraits.
We're going to do portraits, totally.
Yeah.
Dan's is the best one.
Yeah, we actually have a batch of new portraits that we did fairly recently, I think.
Using staff.
Yeah, so we did a bunch of, we did it the way that they did the classic Baldur's Gate portraits. So we had a little photo session where we had people pose and...
Well, I went in and I built the lighting rig, and I built it to be... Like when we did the Baldur's Gate stuff, we had a lighting rig, but it was really simple. So I way overbuilt the lighting rig on this one, and I actually cooked in a lot of the like red, blue highlight stuff that was done.
Made the artist's life easier.
Perhaps a bit too much.
It does look like we're hanging out at the red light district, but you know, it's cool. So
my thought was from a highly abstract level, as an artist, you could use the red separation and the blue separation as separate channels, and you could actually manipulate the image better using that as kind of a color range.
All true things.
It is possible, but probably unlikely.
This is a good one. This one leads into a story. One question. I know that some portraits were changed in a patch in the original Neverwinter Nights due to them looking like celebrities. Any chance those will be restored? Well, listen, I mean, as much as I would like to get Angelina Jolie to give us a model release form, I think that ship might have sailed.
Yeah, I think the likelihood of being blown into legal oblivion would be much, much higher. So let's not go there.
I remember that was a funny time, and it was a minor scandal. And scandals of the early 2000s in gaming. Such an innocent time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I still remember when the Red Cross came after us.
Oh, Lord, I remember
I was
that
like,
too.
Dude,
they
seriously?
went after everybody. They went after Activision.
Yeah.
That was weird.
They didn't want to be confused with healing packs.
And
I get that.
That kind of died down, though, didn't it? Because I still see the Red Cross symbol everywhere in games.
I think it's subtly changed
Maybe.
so that it isn't the Red Cross. So there was a request to show us the blacksmithing work. What I have in front of me is two things that I have built and one thing that I did not.
Ooh,
this, I don't know if you can see it, but it says Baldur's Gate 2 on the sword.
Where'd you get that sword, Trent?
This was the gift at BioWare if you worked on the Baldur's Gate 2 team. I was lucky enough to loan a good portion of the Neverwinter Nights development team to Baldur's Gate 2 to help them ship. And I also served as a tester slash. I did a bit of twiddling on it, but not much. Mostly testing. So they gave me a Baldur's Gate 2 sword. Now mine, if you looked closely, you would have noticed, hey, what's that shiny stuff near the hilt and the blade? That is epoxy, my friends. That is JB Weld, because the Baldur's Gate 2 ship sword is made out of junk. It is the junkiest of junk metal you can imagine, which is great if you want to order 20 swords to give to your team, but within 1 week of Baldur's Gate 2 shipping, well over half of these swords were broken by QA people attacking other QA people with said swords.
This one stayed together for a surprisingly long time.
It just broke a year and a half ago when one of our employees, Alex, used it to open a box.
Oh, it was Alex now, because for a long time I was the fall guy for this.
I heard
this
through
rumor.
back channels it was Alex. And
for years
I
was
understand
the
the appeal of wanting to use a sword to open a box. But at the same time, when looking at said sword and seeing the edge being, well, butter knife dull, I just can't question it. So I don't know if people can see, but there is a nick out of the blade here. I'm going to zoom in and totally mangle the camera.
Enhance.
But end of the day, that was me just doing a little quick test with. This is a hatchet that I made.
The Skull Breaker.
It's a tomahawk. So you can see there's flaws in the blade on the tomahawk. So this is my first experience forge welding. It's 5160 steel to mild steel. So it's a mild steel wrap around a hardened steel core. And 5160 is leaf spring steel. It doesn't like to forge weld to things. But this is like magnitudes harder than the Baldur's Gate 2 sword, because this is actually a hardened weapon. The other thing you'll notice about this is it's really skinny. This, my friends, is not a wood chopper.
No, it's a skull
this is
cracker.
pretty much a people chopper. Yeah. It got thin on me when I was building it, so I just kept going with it.
See,
but that was the first one of the first things that I had made, and it was a lot of fun.
And it's got this little tooth at the bottom for digging out people's gray matter.
And its coloration is natural. It's actually temperature based. So the thought with this one was I didn't want to do any kind of unnatural coloring process or anything, or polish it up to a fine shine. So I basically tempered the blade to soften it, because the process is you quench it to make it hard, and then you temper it to soften it back so it doesn't shatter like glass when you hit things. So I used the tempering. I tempered from the heating the back and letting the heat kind of wander through the rest of the blade, and I got that kind of nice straw on the blade tip, and so it's nice. It's hard, but it's not too horrible.
Well, let's give someone a T-shirt so that we can get their address, and then we can go to their house and kill them with these weapons.
How about we never threaten anybody on the live stream to go kill them?
It's okay if you don't threaten a specific person. I looked it up.
Is it?
So the winner of the T-shirt is...
who may or may not be tracked down by Phil and murdered.
Damned usernames, all one word.
Damned usernames.
Damned usernames. I'm not making a comment about your username. That's actually his username is damned
I think his
username.
username is referencing your Neverwinter Night username, because that was foul, dude.
All right.
Got another question there. Have you guys considered making an HD remake of Sacrifice, released in November of 2000, owned by Interplay Games?
We did consider it.
We talked about it, and I think the words were, hey, what do you think about this? No, I don't think so. 1, we don't know the code. 2, we don't have access to it. 3, it's with Interplay, and so those are kind of the big hits against it.
Unsurprisingly, people tend to not keep source code around from 20 years ago, unfortunately, as we discover more and more every day. There's the classic example of Icewind Dale 2. The source code for that game is gone as far as we can tell. So if anybody out there knows where it is, please God tell us.
Yeah. One of the big things that also happens is corruption.
Yeah, that's true.
We have the Neverwinter Nights. We have all the source assets to make the entire game, and some of the art files are actually corrupted.
Oh, that reminds me. So do you remember the picture? I think John Gallagher did it, of Irenicus sitting in his chair, and he's got the globe with Elazim inside of it.
Yes.
I think that was Johnny G. So we found the original art for that, like the original digital painting, but because of corruption, there's this horrible green banding and streaking throughout the image.
Yep.
And we can't go in and repair it, unfortunately. Like, the data is just straight up messed up. So it's unfortunate, and it happens. And awesome pieces of art and content break, and we can't restore them, unfortunately.
I blame Microsoft Visual Source Safe.
I blame musty garages and flooding for a lot of it.
Here's a question. How do we use normal maps in spec maps? Are they separate images or combined? They are currently separate images. They are referenced through the MDL file. I'm going to twiddle the exporter myself on this side to auto-add the normal inspects so that we can blast through stuff reasonably quickly. But we'll be releasing, I think next week when we show some stuff off, we'll release kind of how to work with it.
Yeah, you'll get a working example, and you can kind of pick it apart from there. And as well as we go forward, we'll be documenting more and more of our stuff.
Yep.
So anything that's there right now, if it is unclear, it will get better.
Oh yeah, that was one other thing we added. So the way a Neverwinter model, a character, is created, parts can be appended or parts can be attached.
Mm-hmm.
Now you might think that those two words are very similar, but they are not. For an attachment is like a cloak or a weapon or one of those things. An attachment could support skin mesh. Now, an appending is where you take a chest and you attach a shoulder to it. That could not support skin mesh.
But now...
So I asked Jason, I'm like, Jason, why can't it? And he's like, that is a good question. Let me look. Because Jason is polite. He is so polite. It's amazing. I love Jason. And shortly he comes back and he's like, it doesn't work because we never did it. And I have now done it. So now it works. So you can actually append skin meshes into the model now. That said, I'm still at the point where I'm poking it. So I haven't successfully used it yet. So I don't know if it's in the current code or it will be rolling in the next stuff. But this is early experimental stage stuff. But it's got a lot of possibilities. Basically being able to grab any part in that hierarchy and replace it with a skin mesh.
Another question. With regards to portraits and user interface, is there any plans to allow players to change their portrait in-game like Neverwinter 2 did? I don't know if we have specific plans around that, but that would be a fairly straightforward feature to add. So if you want to throw that into the Trello, we're more than happy to look at it.
I don't know. I was one of those DMs. I'm like, dude, that's your character. Do you go and you get your face sandblasted off and redo your face halfway through your adventure?
It's a world of magic and polymorphing. Why can't I have a slightly smaller nose?
Okay.
Why is this such a big deal?
Okay.
All right. The server list.
Oh, question here. Can we have a feat that lets you go after an enemy's eyes and tear them out? No, that's Baldur's Gate.
Well, I mean, I guess there are practical concerns like gelatinous cube. Where are the eyes, first of all?
Yes.
Are they in the middle? Are they in like a corner section? Are they on the surface, just poking through?
Actually, if you analyze the Neverwinter models, the eyes are actually part of the face, so there would be challenges.
I mean, ultimately, yes, but you probably won't have like the eye gouging and blood that you're expecting.
The best way to do this would be to have a DM and to role play it.
Real quick, before we go back to more questions, we have a few more features to go over. The server list. So now, or previously, the game would kind of reach out and try contacting the servers on its own to build a list. This was obviously bad for any servers that were behind firewalls or if the client was heavily firewalled off. Now all of the server data is delivered via JSON. So when you load up the multiplayer list, you just are given a list of active servers, including ones that you can't actually connect to. But that works with our NAT punching so that you can connect to them, which is also part of 8156.
Yeah, so NAT punching is a newer thing that basically we have to do since firewalls became so prevalent. Historically, you'd have to go to your router and you'd have to open a specific port to the internet so that you could send messages to Neverwinter, and Neverwinter could broadcast out, hey, I'm here, everything's fine. So NAT punching allows us to essentially punch through that and get past that level of protection, but it's done using kind of standard web protocols, so it's actually a safe way of doing that.
Now, that being said, NAT punching is not a 100% solution. There are going to be weird networks out there that this doesn't work with. Specifically, if you are on an enterprise network or a symmetrical network of some sort, there's still work to be done in that regard. But you shouldn't be playing Neverwinter Nights at work anyways, so, you know, who's really in the wrong here?
I don't know if I support that. You should be playing Neverwinter Nights at work off hours.
We should be playing Neverwinter Nights at work.
We do
they,
play.
However.
I'm actually playing Neverwinter right now.
How is it?
I'm swearing a lot.
What are you? I saw you in the editor earlier. What were you doing?
I was mangling Chapter 1.
What were you doing in Chapter 1, Trent? Why were you mangling it?
I was making Chapter 1 easier because it makes me mad.
Just make your character stronger.
I was playing on easy. I'm 3rd level straight out of the prelude, and it's like, go to the prison district. I go to the prison district. I'm fighting, and I run into this like gang boss. Gang boss turns out to be a level 1 fighter, level 5 rogue. I'm 3rd level. I suck. He murders me. So I fix him by going into the tool set and making him a 3rd level thief, because I can do that.
I'm going to say, and I want you to take this in the best way possible. I think that you're a Batman villain. Because Batman, he goes into the sewers, there's a thug there, Bane, beats him up. He just works out and gets stronger and comes back with more gadgets. You weaken the entire world so that they're down to your level.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
That's some Ra's al Ghul garbage. All right, what else are we getting?
I'm okay with that. A question here. Any chance for tint maps? I can see interesting uses for them.
For what maps?
Tint maps. So
Okay.
I'm assuming this is somebody wants to tint things. So this is a complex issue because it comes down to how characters are represented and what exactly you want to tint and where in the pipeline you would want to tint. Historically, all the tinting was done by layering one image on top of other images. That's a really old school kind of way of doing it. Mm-hmm. Realistically, we could just do an RGB tint in a shader and apply math. And by dumping math at it, we could make it change colors. So it really comes out to a combination of tints and masking. So masking is kind of what we're obsessing about right now and thinking about. So going forward in Neverwinter Nights, how do we mask things properly? Because a PLT is essentially a mask created by creating multiple separate layers that each have, this is the leather stuff, it's on this layer. This is the cloth stuff, this is on this layer. This is armor 1, armor 2, or metal 1, metal 2. So we masked by layer separation as opposed to by actually building a physical mask for it. Mm-hmm. So options, my friends. That's so right. Many options, so many ways to do things.
So one last feature that you guys can't see yet, because we're going to be rolling this out on other platforms soon, is the friends list support on Steam. So obviously Head Start is not yet available on Steam. At some point in the future it will be.
Yes.
And we're internally testing friends list support. So for those of you who do not use Steam, Steam has an overlay that you can bring up as part of the Steam client. You hit Shift Tab and your friends list can come up and you're like, Biff, I want you to play with me or I want to join you.
Red Rover, we call Biff over.
There you go. So you can connect through there. This is kind of a bigger deal than you might expect because Neverwinter Nights is a fantastic multiplayer game, but good God, is it a pain in the ass to actually play together. So this is our attempt at fixing that.
It requires coordination.
Yes.
And one of the things I want to call out is that we're doing this forward in Steam because Steam has an API and a way of solving this.
Yeah.
But going forward, we're going to be rolling this out across the platform, and we'll probably integrate it further into the game and make it tighter.
Yeah. So, for example, if you remember back when GameSpy was still running the Neverwinter Nights servers, there was that buddy list in the server browser.
Yes.
And now that will just reference whatever platform's friend list that you're on. So if you're on Steam, that'll be your friends list in that tab. If you're on GOG or something like that, maybe it'll have their stuff.
Exactly.
So it'll be a platform-by-platform decision.
Another question. Any news on the release of the 2.5 for Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale?
Oh, right. Okay, so this is changing gears a bit to the Infinity Engine. So the 2.5 patch is actively being worked on right now. Every other day, myself, Christian, the IE team, we're all in every other day triages, where we go over bugs that are coming in and fixing them. So over the holiday break, we got a ton of awesome feedback, and we're sort of implementing all of it right now. Seth,
I don't know about all of it. We're implementing
most of it.
Sometimes there's feedback like, make Boo a playable
there's
character.
Feature requests,
and the answer
hey,
is,
this is broken.
No, Boo cannot be a playable character. That would totally undermine the mechanic of Boo in Minsk, and it would just upset things.
Well, I mean,
it would be wrong.
So it's coming soon. We're still crushing a ton of issues. I think this is going to be a really fantastic patch, and we have some exciting stuff that we haven't mentioned that are coming with it. Speaking of that, will the 2.5 patch restore some of the vanilla non-English VO from the game? So some of you may recall that German VO was restored in the most recent patch or the patch before it. There's some other original language VO that is still floating around out there. Spanish is one of them, I believe. So we're going to be looking at that as part of the 2.5 patch. I don't have a specific list of languages right now, but it is something that we are looking at. I've been getting a bunch of pings on the forum about it.
Yep.
Another question from the audience. I think this is back to Neverwinter Nights. Is it possible that the role-playing community could be supported by text with certain symbols like asterisks that could be highlighted in a color of bold, italic font style so that it stands out from spoken words? So this is asking for rich text support in Neverwinter.
Kind of. It's asking for the ability to
Mark up
essentially
text.
from the player side be able to tint stuff.
So like slash for italics and yeah.
If it doesn't exist on the input board, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, man, get it in there. Get it on the trouble
If
board.
it's in the input board and people upvote it, it can be moved to the Neverwinter Nights Enhanced board,
I
I can throw it at a programmer and say, make it so, my friend.
I will say this is legitimately the first time anyone has asked for that, rich text support, but
I think it's the
interesting.
first time anybody's formally asked for
that's
it.
true. Okay, yeah.
There's that really formal versus informal. Question, are you all documenting the behind-the-scenes work? Would love to see a making of book, documentary, etc.
This is it, man.
Yeah, we're going to basically
watching
keep
it.
these live streams forever because you don't want to see us work. It's basically poking things and recoiling in horror and going, "Oh my God, who did this?" And then poking the comments in the header of the text and saying, "Oh shit, this is mine. I built this. Oh God, I'm a bad person and I feel sick. And oh God, how was I so stupid?"
And
A lot of self-doubt, a lot of self-critique, darkness. A lot of darkness.
Nobody wants to watch me take like 8 caffeine pills a day.
And nobody wants to watch me just look at Neverwinter and be sad.
It would be neat, though.
I think you want this stream where we're happy and we're going about it. And see, game development is actually out of a 40-hour week. You probably spend 36 hours smashing your face into a wall and going, why do you hate me? Computer, game, compiler, insert rando thing there. And those last few hours are joyous celebration when it actually works for mere seconds at a time.
Mere seconds at a time.
Mere seconds at a time.
High watermark. Anyways, back to questions.
Little dark there. Little dark.
Okay, so I think it would be cool to have like somebody going around taking documentary footage. However, people like that typically like to be paid, and I would rather spend money on fixing bugs. So if you out there, Mr. Documentary Maker, would like to, for free, come by and create an award-winning documentary about us and our ways.
And you're okay signing an absolute brickload of non-disclosure agreements.
I will set up a cot for you just beneath my desk. There's
Yep.
a little heater there. I'll feed you crackers. Beautiful.
So, question, is the search bug fixed or is it going to be fixed? I.e. passive search is not working correctly. Currently uses D20 plus full skill. Should be D10 plus half skill.
If it's reported, we'll fix it.
Yeah. Again, put it through input.
Yep.
That is the best way for us to take a look at things.
Trent, a few streams back, you mentioned playing Neverwinter Nights and wanting to fix the clunkiness. Any specific clunk in mind that you would fix?
This is an hour-long stream, right? So one of the things that upsets me is the slow response of henchmen. Another thing that upsets me is drive mode and how sharp the character kind of bounces around and clicks around. Combat makes me angry. Combat makes me angry because there's the combat steps. So my original vision for combat steps was during an encounter, I can slowly step my way, while not exiting combat and triggering an attack of opportunity, I can slowly step my way towards a doorway and constrain the number of enemies who can attack me, backing slowly into it. Sadly, the feature also adds random player steps in that my character takes. When my character takes a sidestep away from the doorway that I am slowly trying to maneuver my way towards, my hate grows. It grows to epic levels, and I am like, I am so angry right now.
So it's like when Hodor was like being told to hold the door, and he just sort of like walked away and just let the zombies out. Did I just spoil Game of Thrones for you guys? Sorry.
I don't.
You didn't see that part
I don't
with
know
Hodor?
I saw Hodor, but Hodor would never walk away and let the door.
Did you see the part where? Never mind. We're getting off track here. Anyways, Neverwinter Nights. It's good.
So, question: how many hoodies does Phil have before we see one he's worn on a previous stream?
You've actually only seen one hoodie. It just changes colors.
He's got RGB tinting working.
Yeah. Every day I strip off a layer of cat hair, and there's a new color underneath.
That is true. Phil is a walking tower of cat hair.
Trent, what do you think about BioWare today?
I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic.
Casey's back.
Casey's back.
I'm excited about that. I like Casey.
Casey's a smart
cool
dude,
guy.
man. If anybody can make awesome, it's make everything over there work.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that EA brought him back gives him a good mandate to fix things and gives him the gas to do it.
I think Casey's a pretty forward-looking guy.
My thoughts right now on BioWare are optimistic.
Yeah. I'm more optimistic since EA kind of backed off from some of their more egregious plans regarding making money. But I don't know. I think Casey's a really smart guy. The HoloLens stuff he showed us was super cool, and I think he's got fantastic ideas for Anthem.
I'm anxious to see, and I think good things are going to come out of that studio.
So we like them.
Pleasantly optimistic. Toolset, IntelliSense, and step-through debugging.
Toolset IntelliSense? I feel like that's kind of a major feature.
Yeah. Right now, we kind of recoil in horror from the toolset as much as possible because it is built in C++ Builder, and it's got some pretty funky config options. So,
but eventually,
everything we've got to do to the toolset scares us. So,
but it's eventually got to get done.
If you'll notice on the Beamdog careers page, there is a listing for a whole bunch of people to come work for us. And if one of those persons happened to be a really good programmer type who wanted to do some work on a tool set and kick that tool set in the pants to make some awesome happen, that would be a good thing. Why, Phil, what is this up on your page right now?
We have current openings for a game/web developer, a programmer, a community manager, a designer/programmer, a designer/producer, and a lead programmer.
So one of the things I do want to call out is that the programmer listing is not singular.
Hey.
We're actually looking for multiple programmers because we have so much work and so few people to do the work that we need more people to do the work. Don't do the Ballmer thing.
As Steve Ballmer would say...
Oh my God! You take us to a very dark place here, Phil.
Can the Tempest Cleric kit be backported from Icewind Dale to Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition and convert Branwen? I believe we are actually porting the Tempest Cleric kit to BG.
Really?
However, changing Branwen's class, I don't know if we've committed to that yet.
I think that would be kind of a...
I'm getting more and more leery about touching the balance of Baldur's Gate as time goes on, because we're sitting at 20 years now. Actually, this is the 20th.
And I think there's that real kind of line we have to walk between making changes to make things more cohesive and at the same time preserving what's there. And I really think that museum curator is the aspect we want to take. So I don't think we'll change Bronwyn, but adding something new is totally in there. Yep. Ooh, question.
Favorite monster design?
Favorite monster design from Neverwinter Nights?
Obviously, it's the troll with his little horns.
Dude, are you drunk? Baylor, fire, big wings. This guy is awesome. The first time I saw the Baylor in the game, I was like, I love him. He's so happy.
I'll tell you what my least favorite monster is. Hook horrors. Not because they look ugly, because they kept killing me dozens and dozens of times on this one persistent world where they would kill me and then walk away, and my character would slowly regain hit points, get up, they'd aggro over, kill me again. I left to go get dinner, and when I came back, another player had come by and killed all of them for me. So thanks, whoever you are.
It's all about the hook horrors.
Moving on. In your opinion, who is the best henchman ever? I want to say Jaws from James Bond, just because... you can bite through steel.
So that was going to be my question. Is let's scope this. Are you saying Neverwinter Nights series? Are you including Bond movies? So within Neverwinter Nights, I actually probably like Nathira the most.
Nathira?
Yeah.
Who is my favorite one? Deacon. It's Deacon. Deacon because Deacon is essentially Sespinar given utility.
So what killed Deacon for me was... we were in a meeting and we were talking about Hordes of the Underdark, and this was early days of Hordes, and we were working on it, and we were kind of nailing down the story pitch, and I was like, guys, come on, this is epic level. I want this to be epic, 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 epic.
Guitar playing Cobalt.
And then guitar playing Kobold makes a comment about, hey, Deacon, tell me about your book. Well, I worked on my book, but then the boss came along and said, it needs to be more epic. Epic, epic, epic. At that point, I was like, Dave, I see what you have done here. You have forever ruined Deacon for me, but at the same time, I salute you for your passive-aggressive attack on my my epic, epic, epic. But it was epic, wasn't it? When I played it, it was like, God damn, that feels epic now. I feel good.
That rainbow bridge puzzle in the first part of Hordes of the Underdark sure felt epic.
Okay, that wasn't epic. But the ending was epic.
It was. It was actually really cool. I don't remember a lot of games' endings, but I still remember the ending to Hordes of the Underdark because it was so cool that you could learn the dude's true name. You could beat it so many different ways. I thought it was just really cool and extremely true to D&D. We've got a comment from the audience. Deacon needs his own spin-off game. I agree, and I have the perfect platforming game in mind. He's going to pair up with another character of ours. You're going to love it.
I will spend $7 to fund that game.
Deal. I will go to the Unity Asset Store, and I will put together a game for $7.
Okay, it's T-shirt time again.
All right, let's give away a T-shirt. Modem Head.
Modem Head.
I'm just going to skip ahead. Modem Head, you get it.
We have a comment question here.
How about
I'm
we
tired of
play
my
some
face,
Neverwinter while we answer questions?
and you should show ambient occlusion off.
Yeah, all right.
I'm
let's
tired of
switch
my
over.
face not being on the side of cans of Mountain Dew. When will Beamdog support NWN modding as a competitive esport?
Actually, we talked about modding contests the other day, didn't we?
Did we?
We did. We haven't.
I think that was
rolled
you
it
having
out.
a monologue with yourself in the bathroom.
We were very enthusiastic about a modding contest in the
Phil's
future.
always very enthusiastic in the bathroom by himself.
I left myself wide open there.
Pow!
Jesus. This is what I have to put up with. This is a hostile workplace.
It is a hostile workplace. But no one deserves it more than you, Phil.
Ooh, this is a good one. Can you increase the area size, the 16K resource limit, and the online players limit? In short, can you just up all the limits that Neverwinter currently has?
Possibly.
A lot of that stuff is happening.
Yeah. So the area size comes down to a toolset thing. Again, we're kind of scared of the toolset, but hopefully that's something we can be less scared of in the near future. The 16K resource limit, yeah, this should be fairly trivial. Well, I say that should be fairly trivial, but 16K is 165536, which is a power of 2, which probably means that it's byte limited size. So that would probably be big, like as in regenerating a ton of resources or something along those lines.
But we're already doing a fair amount of work to go to 64-bit, which is going to uncap a lot of these things.
Yeah, so there may be this point where Neverwinter goes from 32-bit to 64-bit, and everything from the previous 32-bit era is never going to work again. And then there's the 64-bit era rolling forward. And when I say nothing is going to work, I mean assets and resources. They'll have to be regenerated and re-exported in the new formats. Modules and adventures will still work.
So real quick, before we answer any more questions, I'm going to be going through a few areas here in Neverwinter while we chat, and I'm just showing you guys ambient occlusion. So ambient occlusion, as you can see, it's pretty minor, but it really adds to the feel of the game in a very subtle way.
It basically adds shadows where you would expect based on kind of the lighting schema of the area.
And this is going to get better and better. This is just the first release of the ambient occlusion shader, but it's looking really cool. So I'm going to load up a few areas here, and we can keep answering questions.
I think one of the key things to call out is that it is SSAO, screen space, and ambient occlusion.
Yeah, it's not baked into the light maps.
So it's actually a post effect that is applied on top. So when you get up to crazy big res like 4K, it can be a little heavy. So be aware that, while ambient occlusion is a cool feature, it can be a bit heavy when you get into like big res. Here's a question. Any chance of a quick cast menu like in Neverwinter 2? The Neverwinter 1 UI makes spellcasting needlessly clunky. The Neverwinter 1 UI makes many things needlessly clunky. It was the best we could do at the time, and I think one of my major goals is to go in and kick that UI in the pants until it's on the floor bleeding and sad, and then rebuild it stronger and better and faster.
So another example, I believe this is from Undrun Tide.
That is Undrun Tide.
So right now this is with ambient occlusion off, but if I flip it on, actually,
I
here,
believe
let
you
me
have Dorno with you.
Step aside. I did like Dorna quite a bit. She was fun because it's the female version of Dorn.
No, she was pre-Dorn, dude. She existed in the world.
I choose to believe.
You can choose to believe anything you want, man. That doesn't make it so.
So one thing you can kind of notice here is the road kind of steps out a little bit more with ambient occlusion. So if I flip it off here,
You can kind of see, it kind of adds almost like a height variance to it. Here's a question. Will you be adding content that was left out of the game on release? Probably not.
Stuff?
I think the stuff that got cut for a reason. Most of it was, A, it was either a poorly thought out idea and not fully implemented, or B, it was so overly aggressive in terms of scope that it just didn't make sense to chase. Again, we really want to kind of watch that border of, are we curating this or are we reinventing this? Enhanced Edition's about curating the original stuff and improving new stuff. So I really want to kind of carry that forward. Ooh, question. Beamdog, where'd the name come from?
Yeah.
So Beamdog came from
A spreadsheet?
the Web 2.0 name generator. So there's you basically enter one thing into one field and one into the other. And I wanted transfer companion, because Beamdog was to be a digital distribution service, which it is. Funny enough how that turned out. But Beam was transfer, to send the bytes over the interwebs. And companion, I wanted it to be dog because your dog's your buddy. He's like, what do you want to do now? Oh, okay, let's do that. Oh, it's so awesome. He's not telling you how it should be. He's not being a dick about it. He's not like, you haven't clicked the proper permission. He's like, okay, I'm on it. Let's do it. So anytime you think of Beamdog, think of transfer and companion, who he's really helpful, and he wants to make your bytes go where you want them to go. Transfer companion.
Transfer companion.
Yep.
So Lasercat was not an acceptable outcome for you.
What do you think, dude?
I like Lasercat. I think it's
I think
it's
you're so wrong.
dynamic.
So I got a shout out from the Russian community. Hello back, Russian community.
Mm-hmm.
I fear your language. When I look at it, the text scares me. But then Google Translate makes it into something that I can read, but not necessarily sensible.
So the Russian translation team has some stuff coming out in the near future, I believe.
Yep.
So good for them.
That's awesome. Cyrillic when you look at it, it looks amazing.
I don't know if a lot of people know this, but we've had a fair number of our games translated by volunteer teams, and they've been a huge benefit to us. We love those guys.
Well, I think one of the things I want to call out there is that for us as a smaller developer, it just doesn't make financial sense for us to go and hire a professional translation crew that then has to go through and do a whole QA cycle. We're into hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time you translate a game as big as a Baldur's Gate or an Neverwinter Nights. So it's just something we can't do. So when the fans who are saying, hey, I love this game and I want to carry it forward, it's really not just about doing it for us. It's more like doing it for the community.
Yeah, because otherwise these games would not be available in those languages.
And that's I think we love the idea that we can support that. That, hey, we can't do this. We just don't have the money to do this. But through volunteerism and helping to step it forward, new people who otherwise couldn't enjoy it can enjoy this game. And I think that's awesome. I think it's truly awesome. I also think it's a good way to kind of get your feet wet in kind of the inner workings of how video games are made. Gives you a good understanding of stuff.
So somebody posted a comment here. Neverwinter Nights has unused dialogue, examples being learning Mephistopheles' true name, having various options.
You mean it's not
him.
Mephistopheles? Totally thought it was
Mephistopheles. I just spelled it wrong. I remember being able to learn his true name and beating him somewhat through that. Or are you referring to like there were yet more options of what you could do once you had learned his true name? Because if that's what you're mentioning, then we can look into it.
Again, I'm going to kind of go back to that curator versus reinvention.
We'll ask Brent.
I kind of want to leave Neverwinter the way it was. And I know I'm sitting there poking the tool set and I'm changing chapter 1, but that's just me dicking around. And if I do change things and we do ship it, it'll be, I don't know what to do there. I'm conflicted.
It's a man in conflict. Look what you've done to him.
I am. It's like being in Star Trek and you're kind of like, do I violate the first directive?
Query: Are Infinity Engine 255 resistant maximum values increasable, or are they part of the balance of the IE games? I think that number is actually a technical limitation.
I think that number is
that's a sign or an
power 2, baby.
Yeah.
That's assigned. That'd be a signed byte.
So it's a pretty deep change to make the engine. So that's probably not something we can change. Someone tell Phil about console macros.
Phil, console macros.
Okay.
There, I told Phil about it. Now he's got to go and research console macros. And next week, Phil will show off console macros and show how brilliant he is.
I mean, there's so many things they could be referring to here. Aha, you thought you could get away by being invisible, but now you're going to die. Come on, Deacon.
Get on it, Deacon.
Deacon.
He's totally buffing himself.
Deacon, I'm not
going to
mad.
help you out
I'm
by
just
buffing myself.
Disappointed.
Is there any chance, here's a question, you make a remaster of the old D&D video games set in Ravenloft?
Is there a chance? Yes.
There are many chances of many things. There is a chance we could be struck by a meteor right now, but we are not.
So Ravenloft, like all the older D&D titles, like all the SSI Gold Box stuff, those would basically be remaking the game. Like you wouldn't really remaster that. You'd basically be constructing a new game in that style that references it. And I don't know how much of an audience there is for that style of D&D game these days.
It really comes down to, I mean, there's eras in video games. The Baldur's Gate era, the graphics actually look quite good. Yeah. You go before that into EGA graphics.
For the time they were good.
For the time they were good, but today they look like ass.
I guess the issue is that, like, if you really have that urge to play that kind of game, there are modern versions, like Legend of Grimrock, I think, is along those lines.
Yeah, there's current reimaginings of them.
But it's hard to sell that kind of game these days, to be honest.
I mean, it also comes down to contractual rights around the products, and there's all sorts of complex issues around this.
Going on nearly 30 years old now, and the contract stuff around that's a nightmare.
Has Trent considered releasing his changes in an unofficial capacity, kind of like David Gator did with Ascension, but it was not official, more of a developer mod? So Dave actually made the game better. I'm not convinced that I am actually going to be making the game better. I'm making the game easier.
You made the game harder.
I'm making things... I'm just reducing my spite level. As far as what outlet that eventually comes down to, I'm not sure.
And so in the end, we made a new original campaign.
That seems to be the best solution. Being that you're in curator mode, don't you think that these unused strings are worthy of curating? What about adding cut things as .ini options? I think the cut strings really, quite often what it came out of was a designer had an idea for doing something. They started down a path. Then somebody came in and said, "What is this and what are you doing?" And the designer described it to their manager, and the manager said, "Yeah, it's not going to happen. Let's kill that, bury it, and go over here and finish this thing that needs to get done because this game has to ship." So in many cases, we don't have those designers available to us, and we can't kind of finish up the thoughts on where they wanted to go with it. So we'd be essentially inferring, and that's what I mean by curating versus kind of reimagining. If we go in and we knew the original intent with the content, I think restoring it is possible as an option, but not knowing and not having the people directly behind it makes it a lot more likely that we would just kind of miss the original intent.
Ooh, this is a good one. Any news on the rigging or skeletons of characters? I noticed trolls drumming their fingers. Finger bones for better animations would be cool.
So earlier in the thread, I mentioned the skin mesh being able to attach and not just append, or being able to append and not just attach. That is exactly what this is. This is finger bones, this is face bones, this is whatever bones. It's possible. Now that doesn't mean it's working, it means it's possible. So I'm poking around with a rig, trying to see what I can do. And so far my experiments have resulted in just disappointment and sadness.
You're painting a beautiful picture here.
But Jason so far has told me that it should work, so I now need to poke it and find the ways that it doesn't work, at which point Jason will fix it so it does work, at which point I will find new ways that it doesn't, and we'll just keep going ad nauseum.
One more question, and then I guess we should briefly touch on the regressions in this patch. Will you be partnering with any developers to allow them to make premium modules with production handled on your end?
Production handled on our end.
I would interpret that to just be publisher level support for a developer that's building a module.
Will we be partnering with any developers?
Will we be partnering with any developers?
Maybe.
You say that as if you're not ready to go in any depth on that topic, Trent.
I'm not ready to go into any depth on that topic.
But you've cornered him. You've got him against the ropes.
Words have been said around this topic. That's about as far as I can go on that. So, Phil, regressions.
Regressions. So this is mostly the server browser right now. So we added all these great features, and then some stuff broke. But that's what Head Start's all about, getting to see how that sausage gets made. So in the in the server list, you might see some weirdness in servers coming up that are incompatible with your version. You might see a bit of a lag of 30 to 60 seconds in populating that list in certain conditions. Some modules loaded are showing as no module in the list, so they should still work, but you're just going to get some weird metadata around it. We have some fixes for this coming. They're should be all dealt with by next patch. So unfortunately, you will deal with a little bit of weirdness in the multiplayer browser this week.
Hopefully resolved by next week. Or the week after patch.
And one other strange one. All the servers are showing up as PvP, but that is not necessarily the case. They're just all being listed in the same category. So again, it's going to get fixed. Let's give a t-shirt away. Yay!
Yay! You can only step things forward by breaking things.
That's right. Oh, we got
the last t-shirt of the stream is to Sanosudo. Sanotasuto.
Sanotsudo. All right, you get a shirt. So what's coming up next for those of you who are watching our stream rehosted on the D&D Twitch page? Could it be a fireside chat with none other than me?
If by you, you mean Nathan Stewart, who will probably talk about how he's paid money to people to make bad things happen to you.
It's true. I've seen the receipts, and he's paying too much, honestly.
Yeah, because the deal
you
is...
could ruin my life for way less than you're spending, buddy.
I can hurt Phil for cheap.
Look, he could just put this in my ribs right now. Total cost, 8 cents.
I wouldn't do that to Phil.
No, not on stream.
I would take Phil down in a slow and painful manner.
All right.
So if you're not part of the Head Start program, Head Start is you go into Beamdog, you buy Neverwinter Nights, and boom, you're in the Head Start program. You can grab an early access build of Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition and be playing with it right now. Get up in the list, start poking persistent servers, putting your own up, playing with all the new content we've made. Tons of fun and exciting things. And if you're obsessed and Steam is the only platform that you really love, you can go and you can wishlist it on Steam. But if you do buy it on Beamdog, we will offer a Steam key in exchange.
And if you build a module for Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition that kills me in a hilarious and unexpected way, I might play it on the stream. So get cracking. I'll only accept modules that follow the official D&D rule that any characters named Philip Daigle have a saving throw penalty. It's got to be on brand, people.
It's just -1, right?
I think he might have increased it.
Really?
I think it changes values based on how angry he is. So the other day when I assumed his identity and launched Dungeons & Dragons 10th edition, it was like that night when I went home to play D&D, my DM slapped me with a -10. So I think he's like in communication with somebody.
He's dynamically altering your balance.
He's got a radio to the brain of every DM out there, and he's like, hey, mess with this guy. All right, I'm getting lost.
that was Phil making a challenge to the community to put forward.
I have thrown down the gauntlet. Yeah. Embarrass me on the internet.
So make a module, have your peers review it, put forward the best module, and we will throw Phil in and have Phil die.
Do you remember that old Flash game where you could just beat the piss out of like a little dude with your god powers? More subtle than that.
You're a dark gamer, Phil.
I'm sorry I cussed.
That's scared, man.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Next week, we'll talk more about Neverwinter Nights and the Infinity Engine. Until then, please go grab Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, get into the Head Start program, and you too can be involved in things like shaders, normal maps, ambient occlusion,
The Kill Fill module contest.
net punching, and of course, preliminary support for the Steam Friends list. See you guys next week.
Take care, everybody.